Introducing, out of the University of Furman, standing 6'5", weighing in at 250 pounds, the man, the myth, the legend, Jimmy Skull, 68!
Woo, we're back, baby! Woo, 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 woo. Skull motherfucking Vikings. We're bringing it back. We're bringing it back. We're bringing it back today. Hello, Vikings fans. Welcome back to another episode of Jimmy Skull 68. Yeah! Come on! Get out! So today, in our episode, we will be going over the Vikings 53-man roster that just came out a couple days ago. So I'm a little late in this video. Today, we'll be drinking some box wine, which I have right here, sponsored by Franzia. Come on. Alright, so sorry about this delay. I'm a little excited. It's Thursday. There's college football on tonight, so that's why I'm a little more giddy than usual. You can call me a casual, but I don't know the entire 53 at the top of my head, so I do have to Google it. For reference, Vikings 50.
One eternity later.
And we're back. Sorry about that. It took me a little bit longer to find. I kept Googling things, and it just was showing like the roster from like 3 years ago. I don't care about that. Anyways, back to this 2024 final roster. All right, yeah. Let's get into it. We're going to start off at the quarterback position. Obviously, we know Sam Darnold's going to be the number one option. Unfortunately, Mr. J.J. McCarthy went down with a torn meniscus. Yes, I've cried my tears. I'm over it now. There's nothing we can do about it. Moving forward, positivity. Skull, skull, and skull. Number 2 on the quarterback depth chart, Nick Mullins. And with Nick Mullins, you get a guy who, I'll tell you what, is not afraid to sling that rock. He just hucks it downfield and doesn't give a damn. Which he'll have a 4-touchdown, 400-yard game with 4 interceptions, and we lose. But you gotta love his heart. I have nothing against Mr. Nick Mullins. I love him. He's a great Vikings player. He's great for the locker room, great for the team. Third stringers for this, I kind of explained it a little bit earlier, but Brett Ripon. So we just signed him after waiving Jaren Hall, 5th-round pick last year out of BYU. Go Cougs, baby. I thought it was a little questionable, seeing as Jaren Hall single-handedly just slayed the Eagles last week, destroyed them, slaughtered them, dimes left and right. You have to love it. But I think the Vikings are going to try to pick him up on the practice squad, which is good. But if you didn't know, when you go to the practice squad, any NFL team can sign you. They can pluck you off that practice squad. So hopefully some other team doesn't just pluck him away. That would really suck, and that would make our GM look really stupid. But onto the running back, we have Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler, and then C.J. Ham. Even though he's a fullback, he's considered a running back. And they just cut Kenny Nwangu, which is pretty sad. I really liked him. Super fast guy. Out of Iowa State. I just really liked Kenny, and I thought he had a decent preseason, so I was kind of startled by it, but it's every year. On to wide receiver, obviously we have Justin Jefferson. No need to go in on him. I love him to death. Best receiver in the NFL by far. Jordan Addison facing a suspension, even though I'm not sure if they'll get him this year or if they'll get him next year with the suspension. So, I mean, it sucks either way, but hopefully they get him next year. I don't know, whatever. And coming in at wide receiver 3, no surprise here, Jalen Naylor. And then right behind him is Tristan Jackson. Tristan, baby. Syracuse alum. Love that motherfucker. He did great. And then Trent Sherfield, who was on the Dolphins, I want to say last year. I actually turned on a game once last year, and he had like a 40-yard touchdown. So cheers to that. Tight end, we have T.J. Hawkinson. He's going to be in the IR for minimum 4 games. Hopefully he'll be healthy after that. But in the meantime, it's the Josh Oliver and the Johnny Munt show. And then third stringer, we have Mr. Nick Muse, who's hung around on the Vikings roster for quite some time. Tight end out of the University of South Carolina, drafted, I want to say, 2 or 3 years ago. But yeah, so tight end room, I mean, I like Josh Oliver, just an athletic stud, good blocking guy. And then Johnny Munt would always make some plays last year. Definitely not going to be at our full strength without TJ Hawk, but those guys just have to hold it down. Left tackle, I'm not going to go too much into the O-line just because it's the O-line and these guys interchange every year, but Christian Darrisaw holding down that left tackle position, book end tackle, love him, he's a stud. That guy's great to have. Just locked him up, made him one of the highest paid tackles in NFL history. I think was a great move. The O-line is not a pretty position. It's not fun to watch, but they're the most important position. And then behind him, Walter Rouse and Jeremy Flax. Left guard, Blake Brandell was on the team last year. Was not the starter, was the backup. We've had a weak interior O-line for quite some time now. So, I mean, let's see. They have him ahead of Michael Juergens. I thought last year Dalton Reisner. Yeah, Dalton Reisner started the left guard position. But he's on the IR, so there goes that. But hopefully Blake Brandell can make some steps. Center, Garrett Bradbury. I have certain feelings about him. I think he's undersized. And I know undersized isn't always a bad thing, but you're in the NFL and you're blocking like, I don't even know who, but you're blocking some big-ass motherfuckers who are trying to kill your quarterback. And I don't want him protecting our quarterback, personally. If I got into a street fight, the last guy I would want would be him. Fuck Garrett Bradbury. Just kidding. If you're watching this, Garrett Bradbury, just kidding. Don't kill me. Behind him, Dan Feeney. I was really surprised he actually made the roster. We just signed him. I think he was on the Bears last year. He's known for his big-ass mullet coming out of the back of his helmet. But he's a bum, I think. Then right guard, Ed Ingram, still hanging around. Second-round pick at LSU. And I don't know. I'm losing track of time, man. Time keeps going by. But a couple years ago, his rookie season, they thrust him in as the starter. And he played, for a rookie second-round pick, pretty damn well, I would think. But, hasn't shown extreme amounts of improvement. Yeah, there's things that he's had good games and stuff. But, hopefully he turns the page in, I think, what is going to be his third season. So rooting for him. And then Dalton Reisner behind him. So I guess they're going to use Dalton Reisner, interchange him about between those right and left guard positions. And then we go to right tackle, and it's Brian O'Neill, the man, the myth himself, out of the University of Pitt. He is a Pitt man. Just him and Darrisaw just have been holding down the tackle positions for the last couple of years, which is humongous. If we could just figure out the interior O-line, our O-line could be top 5. Nothing much to say on him, just a stud player. Would like to see him maybe take another step, but he's good where he is. And then behind him, David Quessenberry. He's been on the team for a little while. So, all in all, nothing like too crazy other than the Jaron Hall cutting and the Kenan Wangu, but it is what it is. It's a third-string running back and a third-string quarterback, so at the end of the day, who really cares? And then we move on to the defense, D-line. Jerry Tillery, one of our defensive tackles. I'm iffy on him. I don't really know too much about him. And then behind him, who I'm really excited about, LDR, Levi Drake Rodriguez. Rookie, 7th-round pick. Dude's got some heart. Love his hair out the back of the helmet. Just looks like a fucking beast. Rooting for him. Definitely want him to, get some snaps, maybe even start some games. It would be really cool to see a guy like him just, fighting for his worth in the NFL, fighting for his worth in the league. I'm very, very excited to see what he has in store for the Minnesota Football Vikings. Skull motherfucking Vikes. Moving on, defensive end, Jonathan Bullard, and then Jalen Redmond, nothing too crazy to talk about with those guys. Just bodies, dudes being dudes. So, rooting for the guys, but nothing that's not too much talking point. And then you get into Jonathan Grenard, played on the Texans last season. Vikings just signed him in the absence of Danielle Hunter. Danielle actually went to the Texans, so it was kind of like a trade if you think. But the Vikings got younger and cheaper, so you gotta love that, but we'll see how he'll pan out. I don't really know too much about the guy, to be honest with you. I don't even know where he went to school. I'm gonna have to research that. Wait, I think he went to Florida. That's where he went. And then behind him, Patrick Jones II, another Pitt man. I've always loved Pat Jones. He used to rock number 91. I think he rocks a single digit now. Is it number 3? It might be number 3. He's great. Then Gabe Murphy, out of UCLA, undrafted. He's on the IR, so we'll see how he does. And then we go to the linebackers. Ivan Pace, Brian Asamoah made the roster. There was some thought that he might not. So, yeah. Oh, I almost forgot about Dallas fucking Turner. Dallas Turner's on the D-line, too. I'm tripping over here. I don't know. He's not showing up on the damn list. This list is fucking terrible. They have all these weird positions on this damn thing, but Dallas Turner's there. And then AVG, Andrew Van Ginkel, he came from the Dolphins. He's going to do good. And then Jihad Ward, which was an interesting pickup. He played on the Giants. He was pretty good on the Giants. I think he's kind of a journeyman. Maybe I'm wrong. But, all these defensive guys, it's not like, Blake Cashman in the inside linebacker position I'm excited about. Him and Ivan Pace, I think, could be really good. Blake Cashman from the University of Minnesota, grew up a Minnesota guy. It'll be cool. It'll be cool for him to play in his hometown. He came from the Texans too. We honestly took a lot of players from the Texans, so that's interesting enough. And then the cornerback position. This is where it gets a little bit more interesting. The D line, it can get a little boring and stuff. But Stephon Gilmore, we just signed him. Older corner on the back end of his career. Took a one year, $9 million deal, prove it deal kind of. Is he still worth a decent contract? This might be his last decent contract. Hopefully he can, just be that veteran presence, maybe rekindle some of what he used to have on it when he was a little younger. I think he still's got it. But it's hard, man, when you're a 36-year-old and you're guarding like Jamar Chase and et cetera, et cetera. And then sucks about Mekhi Blackman. That really stinks. This is the left cornerback. I don't really know how they really do it. But and then Fabian Moreau behind him. Don't really know much about the guy. Dwight McLaughlin, though, I'm very excited about. Undrafted guy. Played really good in the preseason. Really like him. Other side, the right cornerback, according to ESPN, Shaquille Griffin. Played at UCF. If you don't remember, his brother, Shaquem Griffin, the guy who got drafted, didn't have a hand. They both went to the Seahawks that year. But, I think he was a Pro Bowler a couple years ago, and then I think he was on the Jags last, if I'm not mistaken. It was meh there, and the Vikings just signed him. Just cornerback depth. We also have Byron Murphy, who got hurt last year, but I think he's got some dog in him. I really like Byron Murphy and what he brings to the table. Caleb Evans squeaked his way back on the roster. I really, and every Vikings fan will say the same, really loved some of Caleb Evans when he was a rookie. I think he went to Missouri. Yeah, he went to Missouri. And showed a lot of promise. Big, physical corner. And then in year 2, he kind of took a dip. And he went from, like, most love in the Vikings fan base to now he's more, But, well, we'll just have to see how he pans out. Why do they have Metellus listed as a corner on this? This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen, but I'm going to make these last few quick. Safety, we already know. Harrison Smith, Josh Metellus. I actually drafted Josh Metellus in a fantasy league where you could select defensive players. I think he's going to be great. He gets sacks, he gets picks, he gets tackles, he does it all, fumbles. So, love him. If you have a defensive draft or a draft with defensive players in fantasy, select him. Trust me. But if he sucks, it's not my fault. And then so Cameron Bynum, Harrison Smith, Josh Patel is safety. And then, behind them, Jay Ward, Theo Jackson, those are special teams guys. They'll be punt gunners and whatnot. Whew, okay, and then moving on to the kicker, Will Reichard, the next coming of the Messiah himself, Will Reichard. Cheers up to him. He's such a stud. I love that dude. It's just really refreshing knowing we have a kicker who can just go out there and nail a 50-yarder in his sleep. And he hits all his extra points. Greg Joseph. And then punter Ryan Wright sneaks his way back onto the roster one more year. I thought they were going to bring in a little bit more punter competition. But the Vikings didn't end up doing that. So Ryan Wright it is. And with that kind of closes out the 53-man roster right there. I hope it wasn't too boring. I'm sure not many people made it to this point in the video. But if you did, thank you. One more week. Well, about 9 to 10 days. But Vikings kick it off at MetLife against the New York Football Giants. The line right now is a pick'em, which is quite interesting. But I would be nailing the Vikings. Well, thank you again for joining. Until next time, Skull fucking Vikings. Jimmy Skull, 68, out.